The Looking Forward Show. Welcome, everyone. We're here at PhillyCam. We're going to be airing right now. We're live streaming on PhillyCam. We're streaming on Xfinity 66, 966, on Vios TV 2930, on Roku, Apple TV, YouTube. And tomorrow you'll be able to listen to us on PhillyCam Radio, WPPM LP, Philadelphia 106.5. My name is Jeff Abramowitz, and I am here with the Looking Forward Show. I am really grateful to be here. I don't know if you can feel the energy that I have today, but I am a foodie by nature. I love food. I love good food. I love to watch people make food. I love watching people eat food and teaching people. And today's show is all about food and some food for thought. And we have a wonderful show today and great guests lined up for us today. So before we begin the show, I just want to capture a few things. One, food for thought. Food is so important when we talk about not only our nutrition and staying healthy. The new year brings a whole bunch of resolutions. Some people are big fans, not so sure where I stand on that yet, but I will tell you that recently I decided that nutrition was going to be a priority for me in 2022. So we're really watching what I eat and working out and getting healthy and trying to stay fit. With COVID going on and so many challenges in our health community, I wanted to really be mindful of that as I look forward to what's coming in the next year. So a few things that struck me that I just wanted to bring up before we move to our first guest. And one is that when we talk about prison and incarceration, there are a number of studies that have come out recently, one in particular that studied the ending of the hidden punishment, they call it, which is really food in prison. And it was an article, study that was published in 2020, and it surveyed people from around the country, about 250 people. And some of the data that came from that was pretty remarkable. One of the things it said, that men and women said, when questioned about food and nutrition inside of prison, the statistics indicated 71% of those that were questioned stated that they had to do things that were against policy or the rules in order to get access to food. That's kind of interesting. The second thing that I drew from this study was that about 75% of the men and women that were questioned said at some point in time they were served rotten or spoiled food. In addition, 94% said that they did not have enough food to feel full after a day, and that about 89% of the meals did not taste good and they looked unappetizing. Wow. So I know that this is incarceration, it is prison, and I wouldn't expect a 5-star restaurant to be on tap. But I also think that part of being mentally fit and getting ready to come home is also staying physically fit. And we just don't do a good enough job behind the walls of our prisons. And it is, in fact, much a hidden punishment. I will tell you, there were some amazing chefs while I was away. When I was incarcerated, men that dove into and that were cooking for others, man, they could do some crazy dishes inside of prison. And they learned how to use that microwave. It is pretty incredible. So we're going to be talking about food today. We're going to take a real quick break. We're going to be breaking down some silos with our good friend Lou Narvaez from Pennsylvania Probation and Parole. And you're listening to Looking Forward Show, and we're going to be right back. We are back and looking forward, and I have our good friend Lou Narvaez, District Director of Pennsylvania Probation and Parole on. Lou, how are you, and Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you, Jeff, and I'm fine, and hopefully the same holds true for you and yours. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're doing well. So I gave you that new intro clip because, when we first met, you had told me, you said, Jeff, the way I look at my job is I just got to start breaking down some silos in the community. And I thought it was a great way to segue you in to our discussions every week, because you've been just a great fan of the Looking Forward Show and sharing what's happening at a very different level inside of our government and our prison systems in Pennsylvania. So today we're talking about food for thought. So I'll open the door up a little bit for you and give you some space, because I know every single show we have, you do your homework and you're prepared. So I want to turn it over to you and say, how you doing? And talk to us a little bit.
Well, first of all, once again, thank you. And you're correct. Our initial meeting was based and still is based on the concept of breaking down silos. And what I always appreciate is your willingness and acceptance to accept a different point of view, opposed to what we have going on in the political circus, or should I say political arena, forgive my misspeaking, where it's about being right opposed to doing what's right. So I appreciate that always. And as you speak about food and food insecurity, and before I get into that, let me just say that in parole field services, we are currently facing what everyone else is facing as this new manifestation of COVID, the Omicron, begins to accelerate. We're revisiting old patterns and practices, some which we haven't gotten away from, which is the mitigation practices of the COVID virus and handling our caseloads in such a manner that we're not having face-to-face contact when necessary. We are using the social medium as we're doing now through Zoom and other techniques where we can still meet with the population base. Those that are considered high risk, we definitely have to go to the homes and meet. However, that being said, I'm always amazed as how we, as a people, begin to make politically correct characterizations or definitions of terms. Like when I hear the term food insecurity, as I've stated on numerous occasions, I'm a product of the 60s. And what it is poverty. It's poverty. Whenever you have people that are hungry, that's food insecurity. And I find it interesting that the USDA, the way they deal with their definition, is not having enough food or healthy lifestyle for food, and you're limited for having availability of nutritious, adequate food at all times. And basically, when you're poor, you're not really looking at having a healthy lifestyle as much as getting something to eat, something that's necessary. Philadelphia ranked amongst the 10 largest cities, okay, with very poor ratings, with 26% of Philadelphians that were living below the federal poverty line. 26%.
Wow.
That ranged anywhere from 377 in excess to 400,000, 377,000 to 400,000 in excess of people that's living below the poverty line. You see, when we get clients that come to us, I tell my agents, it's real simple. If you don't have a place to go to, if you don't have food to eat, we making utterances to them. We making noises because they're looking for what every human being looks for, the basics of something to eat. Now, once you can get the basics, then you can get into looking at maybe having a nutritious lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. When you open up that refrigerator and there's only bread and water, or maybe water, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, it's so much that, Lou, and so much more. In a lot of our food deserts in Philadelphia, around the country, even Cleveland, no matter where you are, it's really easy to go into a bodega for that pack of Doritos, the package of Doritos and Oreos and things like that. But really being healthy and thinking about it, I'm curious, like, is there a nutrition policy that probation and parole officers have? Is it a priority for them to make sure that the men and women they work with are staying healthy and using smart nutrition habits?
Well, see, as far as the eating habits, no. As far as having an approved home plan, yes. As far as trying to help them get a job, yes. They have to be able to migrate through those arenas, having a home, having a job, because those are things that will help you get in line with having food. But pre-COVID and during COVID, prices in the supermarket have escalated.
Yeah, it's
They
crazy.
have escalated out of control. So if I'm living at minimum wage, now the federal poverty level definition, because everything got to be defined and put in a box, a family of four that has 26,200 as income, they're living below federal income.
Yeah.
the income. Imagine that, a family of four living off of 26,200. It's not just talking about food. If we're just talking about paying food, then okay, but you're talking about rent, electricity, whatever the case may be. So somebody that's coming home with that, talking about a healthy lifestyle, it's not even on the table. Now,
No.
am I here promoting not having a healthy lifestyle? Absolutely not. Absolutely. We must try to achieve that. However, the problem, even the institutions have, when you talk about the DOC, which is Department of Corrections, they have to work with the Correctional Food Service affiliates in setting up not just menus and criteria. Now, I cannot, and nor would I try to say that those people that reported they received spoiled food didn't, because I can't attest to that. What I can attest to are what's in place. What I can attest to that they have what they call registered dietitians that's supposed to work with people that have health problems, religious observances. They're supposed to work with the FDA in terms of the guideline for a healthy meal. That's what's supposed to be happening. As far as the food being untasty, let's be real. We can be out on the street and there's somebody's house that can't cook worth a dollar.
Yeah, this is really true.
Okay,
it's really
so
true.
let's be real.
I know.
Taking that into consideration, when you talk about food insecurity, until we address the poverty in America, and not only the poverty, but those of us that can afford to eat, there was reported, according to the Natural Resources of the Defense Council, 40% of food that Americans that can't afford to eat, they get tossed and get waste. Now, my generation, there was a saying, waste not, want not. You better not get up the table and leave something on the plate.
Yeah,
okay?
Well, there's no question in America, we have it a little bit backwards. You go into our supermarkets and, you have rows and rows, a full entire row of just cereal, right, to pick from. So, we don't really have a good national policy or roadmap for healthy eating.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. But that's where it becomes an educational process. But you can't begin to educate people that's hungry, that's sitting down with nothing, to tell them, okay, well, we want you to have a healthy lifestyle. First, we have to get them food to eat.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And they have to have a place to eat the food, because most of the people that are hungry, guess what? They're homeless too. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So we are, Lou, we could, I know that probation and parole officers, at least in Pennsylvania and also throughout the country, are really being mindful of health issues now, especially because of COVID.
Absolutely.
And so many people that are homeless and struggling with food nutrition.
Right. And I don't want you to think that this is me not advocating, because I'm a strong believer in advocating for a healthy lifestyle, a healthy eating lifestyle. But you have to be in place financially to do that. And there will be those that say, well, there's things that you can eat that's not expensive, and that's fine. But $10 to somebody that don't have $10, you might as well tell them to have $10,000.
That's true.
So it all becomes relative. But just jumping ship for 1 minute, because I was looking at the other part of what you presented. When you look at those famous chefs, those renowned chefs, that have had challenges, there are those who, after they became famous, and we all know about Martha Stewart, and that was the inside trading that became involved in the criminal justice system. But there were others that were before they became famous, like Gordon Ramsay. I reference him as the angry guy on the TV show. Gordon Ramsay had been charged in 1993 before he got his status in London for gross indecency, which would be the equivalent for a decent exposure over here in the States. But what he did as a result after that, he made in one of their prisons what they call the bad boy bakeries, where he started training people how to become chefs and how to cook. Then you had another chef, Juan Carlos Cruz. Now, he hired a homeless person to kill his wife. Okay. Wow. So he ended up getting time. I think he got 19 years that he had to do for that. And then you had Chef Matthew, and I'll say his name wrong, Tivy. He was, he actually died in prison. He was arrested for sexual exploitation of a minor, receiving and distributing child pornography. Now, these are people, this guy had a career, but the one that was most striking to me, besides Ramsay, because this was before he was famous, was Jeff Henderson.
Yeah, so
Now,
Chef Jeff and I are friends.
so
Jeff,
you know his history there because he had some charges sent him upstate. He was dealing with drugs, but his background, he came from a poor family. He started dealing drugs. He did a prison term of 10 years, but he gained his career and built it after the fact. A lot of these other guys built their career and then during their career, DUIs, thing like that, except for the ones.
So you set the table for us, Lou, really nicely because we're going to be bringing on our next guest in a minute after we take a quick break. But Brandon Kroskowski is on. Brandon is from Edwins in Cleveland, and Brandon and I have known each other for a bit. And I want you to hang out, Lou, because you got to listen to Brandon and the work that he's doing out in Cleveland. So we're going to take a quick break. Lou, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. And we're going to be right back. This is the Looking Forward Show.
Thank you very much.
At the Looking Forward Show, and welcome to another great episode. Again, this is we're live streaming on Xfinity 6696, Fios TV 2930, Roku, Apple TV, YouTube, and we're airing tomorrow. You'll hear us live on recorded on WPPM LP and 106.5. Brandon, how are you? We are here with Brandon Kroskowski. Brandon is he graduated the Culinary Institute of America. He is worked at some of the best restaurants in the country. He founded in 2007 Edwins Leadership Institute and is the head chef. And he, I have to tell you, I had the opportunity to go out to Cleveland to see Brandon, to eat in his restaurant, and it has such a had an impact on me. Brandon, I know you just popped on, but how are you?
Good, man. Doing good, Jeff.
It is so good to see you. The last time I was in Cleveland, we got to talk. You've been a guest on this show before. The last time we were on radio, we've graduated. Now we're on radio, but we're also on television and live streaming, and we're really excited to have you. So how are things in Cleveland?
Dude, we're rocking, man. It's been actually a good January. We just hit the New York Times. They do a list of 52 places in the world that are making a difference in the world. We hit number 9. And this last week and the week before that was a cover of the Washington Post food section. So like the media is ramping up, just exposing further what you can do if you give someone a fair and equal opportunity to make a difference. And we continue to do and make that difference.
Brandon, talk to us. A lot of our guests may not be familiar, and we got to get them out to Cleveland to Edwins. But why don't you share with us a little bit about Edwins and the work you've done there?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a basic mission, right? Just service, right? Servicing people and helping someone who is going through maybe a difficult patch obtain their dream, right? In culinary arts and hospitality. So how we do that here at Edwins is we have a public-facing restaurant, a French fine dining restaurant that also is a school. So for 6 months, someone comes through the program and receives these elite skills. So you'll learn business basics, work every position in the dining room, including bartending, hosting, etc. You also work every position on the line in the kitchen. And at the end of these 6 months, hey, the world's yours, right? Most people go on to another job and succeed. Some people stay back with us. We've hired 60% of our staff in terms of management, from chefs to general managers, are graduates of the program that we have, and we just keep rocking. But the skills, like the easy part, we also provide things around that, like housing. We've got 4 buildings for housing. It's nearly 50 beds. So if you're a current student, you can live for free in one of our 2 apartment buildings. We got another house for graduates. We got another house for families. We're in the library right now, right? There's a fitness center beneath us. There's a butcher shop, bakery, and so on. So we hit pretty hard.
You guys are amazing. So the last time I was out there, we were in your library, and
Yep.
it's attached to the bakery there. But you took me on a tour, and there were some things that stuck out so loudly for me. One was we walked down to your basement, and in the basement where you are, there is just I don't even know how to explain it. It is just everything a returning citizen could ever possibly need in their life when they come home was in your basement. And I'm talking everything from clothing to things for their house to you name it, it was there. So how did that get started? And is that part of the program?
Yeah, it's all part of the program. The whole idea, Edwin's, was born from a break I received when I was 18. I'm 41 now, so obviously quite a few years in between. But you know, the whole idea behind Edwin's was just to build a place, right? A national and international model that will change the face of reentry. That when someone comes in to dine, it's less about maybe what you've done in your past and what you're doing to create this moment and how you're moving forward. And that's what we do on a daily basis. And the idea is to dig deeper than anywhere else. You know, if you want to be the best, you got to have space, right? You need facilities for education. You need a place for your body. You need a place to rest your head. So yeah, we just keep taking it deeper and deeper. But you know, most of this, Jeff, is born out of need. So when a need comes up, you know, you might find another building or another business that we create to remedy that need.
So much to talk to you about. One is that I didn't realize until recently that Edwin was your middle name. So
Yeah.
I'm a little embarrassed by that, but that's how you got it. I was out there, and a few things. One is you talked me after we went to the basement. We took a little tour. And this is not where Edwin's the restaurant is, which is in a different section of the city. But we went to you took us out back, and you got to tell people what you see when you walk out the backyard where you are at the bakery and the store, the butcher.
Yeah, man, our backyard is full court basketball. Behind that basketball court, we've got a little farm. You know, we got some goats, chickens, a couple ducks running around. There's a large garden area too for people to hang. A nice little outdoor patio. Yeah, it's like a little oasis in the middle of the hood. It's fun. We'll put it that
So it's
way.
kind of crazy because you're not in a wealthy community in Cleveland, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit because I'm really ultra familiar with how you pivoted during COVID-19. It's been hard on restaurants, but you've done something remarkable with it and flipped it on its head. Can you tell our audience a little about what's happened with the way Edwin's pivoted and some of your restaurant work?
Sure. Yeah. You know, I mean, everyone knows what happened in COVID, and you know, our state shut restaurants down. We were allowed to remain open to do takeout and to go, so we did so the very next day. Started a concept, and it continues to today, Jeff. We're still pumping it out, 4 for $40, so 4 meals
Wow.
for $40. We change the menu every day. It's wholesome food. I think tonight we got like chicken with pesto sauce, and we do fresh baked breads and pastries. And the idea was to vertically stack all of our businesses, from butcher to baker to restaurant, and provide really wholesome food and good meals for people who are a little bit uneasy about what's going on in the world, and do so at the right price, right? I mean, $40 for 4 people. It's like, come on, you can't even do that at like a fast food joint.
That's
So
crazy.
that caught fire, man. It really caught fire. We like doubled our gross volume. We were rocking. We hired over a dozen people that first couple months of COVID. We were so busy, and
Wow.
you know, from then we just kept sailing forward. That was it, right?
We're just waiting for you. We're waiting here in Philadelphia. There's a Edwin's wanted sign here because we want to bring you here in the worst way. We're just waiting for that expansion. We'll get there eventually. You have a slogan. You arm people entering with a skill set and a smile, and I love that because if you give people a skill set and you give them some personality. I raised that because I was at your restaurant and we had an amazing meal. I was with my partner Lisa and her girls, and we had dinner there. And you obviously tipped us off on all the great things to have, but there was something that happened during that meal that sticks out in my mind, and I use it in almost every talk I give around the country. And it was a young man who came up afterwards and he said, "Jeff, you got to get the Bananas Foster." And I had not had Bananas Foster since way before prison, and I was like, wow, okay, let's give it a shot. So we got Bananas Foster, and a young man came out and he made this in front of us. And I snapped a picture when he lit it on fire. And when he was done, he began to serve it. I snapped a picture of his face because number one, it was the best Bananas Foster I think I've ever eaten in my life. But number two was if I could just replicate the smile on his face with every returning citizen and justice involved person I work with, that would be the ultimate in success. because this gentleman looked like he had just won the Super Bowl. He had this sense of accomplishment that was so remarkable that it's forever stuck with me. And I'm grateful for all the work you do in the reentry space. If people wanted to learn more about Edwins and get involved in some of the work you do, how would they go about doing it?
Yeah, like anything else nowadays, hop online, check it out. We got a ton of information, man, from that the Oscar-nominated documentary. You can learn more about how we do things to, just how to get involved, whether it's a check, whether that's volunteering. We go nationwide in prisons, man. We hit pretty hard. We're on tablets in tens of thousands of prisons right now, and maybe your facility doesn't know about it or hasn't heard about it. You can also make that change today. So it doesn't just have to be something that happens on the outside with a check or some volunteer work. You can reach out to us and say, hey, look, we really want to bring this inside the walls right now to to wherever, Montana, and we're most likely connected there. Checking us out online. There's so much information.
Absolutely. So if you have any questions at all, reach out to the show. I'll be glad to connect you to Brandon's staff out there and give you more information. Brandon, it's so great to see you. Thank you for all the great work you're doing. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you taking time in what I know is an unbelievably busy schedule. But congratulations, and I'm looking forward to my next trip to Cleveland, which I'm hoping is going to be, we'll wait see what the snow brings to you guys.
Well, bring a sled, man. We'll see you.
There you go. Brandon Kraskowski from Edwins. Brandon, thanks so much for being with us today. We're going to be right back. Just looking forward. We're going to have Wayne Williams from the Food Trust is going to be on. We'll be right back. Looking forward show. So a big shout out to Brandon Koskowski at Edwins in Cleveland. I can't say enough about the experience out there and all the great work he's doing. He truly is changing lives, and I'm looking forward to getting out to see him. And again, if you want any more information, check Edwins out online. You can Google Edwins, Brandon Koskowski. You can just check it out. Just amazing stuff. So our next guest today is from the Philadelphia Food Trust, and Wayne Williams returned to the city of Philadelphia in 2017. He spent 35 years in the federal prison system. We'll have to talk about that with him in particular. But during his incarceration, Wayne facilitated numerous programs and classes and worked with men, getting them, really improving their skill sets, preparing them for the return home. When he came home, he created this program called Outside, a reentry organization. He's done some amazing work. We're going to hear a little bit about that. But Wayne transitioned in 2019 to the Food Trust as part of a new initiative where really education of nutrition and food access became front and center in both halfway houses, recovery houses, and correctional facilities. And Wayne's done some great work. We've been working together on several projects, and I'm really glad to bring Wayne Williams to the house. How are you, Wayne? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's good to see you too, Jeff, and thanks for the opportunity to share what we have been doing here at the Food Trust.
Yeah, it's great to have you. You and I have been bumping heads recently on some projects, and it's been great to work with you. But I have to be honest that, this is so long overdue for us to really put nutrition front and center. And I want to start by talking a little bit about your journey. You and I both have done Fed time. I did not do nearly as much as you did. I spent 5 years in the federal system and came home in 2015. You had 35 years away, and what was it like, and what did you get out of that experience?
Well, it gave me an opportunity to really take a step back and look at not just my life, but look at life in general. I mean, certainly at that age, I was like most at that age in their early 20s. I really did not know as much as I thought I knew. And even what I did know, I really didn't understand. And once that I was able to accept that, it helped me to begin to develop a strategy to deal with both being inside and preparing myself for one day when I would get out. And so I began to look at others that was doing time with me and try to figure out what was it that was really causing them to be there. And it took me to economics. And I began to look at economics, not finance in itself, but economics. And I began to realize, as your earlier guest, the probation officer said, Lou, it was poverty. Everything begins and ends with that. And so I began to study economics from a standpoint to help others understand economics and how economics control the world. And again, when I first started looking at economics, I was really thinking about finance. But then when I began to study economics, I began to realize that economics is really about scarce resources. And then I redefined what was scarce resources. And I found that for most part, for most men and women that's in prison, for the most part, they just did not have access to the resources that will allow them to be able to manifest their best part of themselves. So I began to help others to understand how to identify whatever they had within inside themselves, tap into it, and develop that.
Yeah, that's remarkable because this journey is it's not about the past, it's about the lessons and what you learned from it and where you go from it after that. Did you do any culinary instruction behind the walls? Were you teaching any kind of food nutrition inside the walls, or when did that passion happen?
No, to tell you the truth, Jeff, I had nothing other than the basic, inside it, when you was in the federal system, you remember a lot of us, we would read Man's Health, Man's Fitness. We did a lot of that kind of reading, but that was just magazine type reading, but I never really got deep into the study of nutrition. I had an idea of what it was and the benefits of it, but no, it wasn't until I came to the Food Trust that I began to understand the value of nutrition.
Wow.
I thought nutrition was just about physical health, but as I began to look deeper into it and study it, as you mentioned the report earlier, that report suggests that nutrition also is connected to mental health, and that was a game changer for me.
Wow. So you navigated, you came out and you started this program, a reentry program called Outside, and then you found your way to the Food Trust. And can you talk a little bit about the Food Trust? I know they've been around. It is a nonprofit. It's been around since 1992. They're doing some remarkable stuff. But can you share with us a little bit about the work the Food Trust does and what the job is that you have there?
Well, the Food Trust is unique to me. I came to the Food Trust in 2019. And the Food Trust to me is a unique organization in that it has so many different components addressing nutrition education, addressing food insecurity, the corner stores, farmers markets, a whole list of other approaches we have to address food insecurity in the neighborhoods that we work in. And so when I came to the Food Trust, I came there because they had done research that helped them to understand that 1 out of 6 individuals in the city of Philadelphia either have been in prison or have some experience with those that's been in prison. And so they looked at it in 2017, they began to research this. And they thought that if that many people was affected by incarceration, then it would be a good idea to also begin to target them too, because they was at that moment like a missing component to the whole overall project or scale of what we was doing. In other words, we was doing great in schools. We was doing great in terms of farmers market. We were doing great building up corner stores. But we thought that we needed to also tap into this particular demographic, because if that many people are coming from prison, they have a great effect and influence on the other areas in which that we was working on. So we begin to, as we begin to do that research, we thought that it was time for us to step into that area. And then we had to begin to figure out a way in which that we could approach this that was realistic, honest, and workable. Because as your guest, the probation officer, Lou, said, when you're talking to people that's in recovery or reentry, where I work at reentry houses and recovery houses, they have pressing other issues. And so how do we get them to even think about nutrition? So we had to step back and develop an approach that we could connect nutrition education with their way of life. It couldn't be something separate. It had to be a part of what they're already using. They have to be able to use that as a part of their strategy to get themselves together.
Yeah, I got to tell you, one of the things that I get really upset about, when I came home, I lived in North Philadelphia in the halfway house in a shelter. And the food was, to say inedible is a gross overstatement. It was a struggle that I had. And coming home with $16 in my pocket, I wasn't able to really go out and buy a lot of food and meals. But I will tell you that the education doesn't just happen with those that are coming home. It comes with the institutions that are housing men and women. It comes with those people that are doing reentry work that make it a priority and stock things in their offices like power bars and nutrition bars and protein bars and basic things that will help people get through the day nutritionally, and smart things. I will tell you that some of the work the Food Trust has done recently is reaching outside into a lot of those programs. I know you've been started working a little bit with our Jeff's reentry program, the Looking Forward program, and we're starting to reach through a number of different programs. I know you said you worked in the halfway house setting and have done a bit in the correction setting too. Can you talk a little about what the Food Trust job is? Is it merely education? Is it education coupled with a little bit more than that? And explain a little bit about how the Food Trust actually works.
That's a good question, Jeff. It starts with education, because education allows us, and that education is not just focused on the direct participants in our program. That education is to help even those, as you mentioned earlier, prison officials, other organizations and institutions, to understand what role they may be able to play in this to address not just food insecurity and nutrition. We work with the Philadelphia County Prison and a warden there, deputy warden there, as a part of our project. And what they do, what we're looking at right now, is ways in which we can look at the menu, the commissary list, and help them to understand some of the impediments or problems that people have inside of the institution, and see if we can help them to improve that food experience. Because that food experience is not just about food. The food experience of eating is what it makes a person human, if you understand. If a person is eating food in a negative way, if you will, again, referring to the report that you mentioned earlier, that negative experience is translated into that person's behavior and lifestyle. So the goal is to be able to give them a healthy, not just healthy food, but a healthy food experience.
Yeah.
And so we're working with the other organizations to try to improve first the understanding of food nutrition and why it's a benefit to the participants, not just in our program, but why it would be a benefit to all of us that's involved.
Absolutely. It's great. It's great work you're doing. If somebody wanted to get information of the Food Trust, where would they go to get that?
Well, they can just simply go to the Food Trust website, foodtrust.org, and it's a whole list of information that they can get from that website.
Awesome. Great deal. So Wayne Williams, the Food Trust, is remarkable. So before we take a quick break, and I just got a quick question for you. I know I left prison with a lot of food stories, but I'm curious, what was the favorite food you had behind the walls?
When I went in, Jeff, food was different. The food experience in 1982 in the federal system, and this is again why, when we take a step back historically, we already knew and understood, meaning institutions, the need for healthy food. In 1982, we understood, meaning the federal prison system, understood that it was a benefit to everyone involved that people got something good to eat and not just something to eat. And so in 1982 at Leavenworth, we had salad bars, fruit bars, ice cream bars. Now, all this may sound, it wasn't about the food. The idea was to help people develop and have, even in those negative circumstances, a healthy experience with food, because the theory was if they had a healthy experience with food, that we would behave better. And that actually worked.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, we went south at some point along the road. We went south on that one, and we got to get back to it. But Wayne Williams at the Food Trust, thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to actually do some Cooking with Pam. It's a new show, Cooking with Pam, and she's here from the Health Promotion Council. So we'll be right back and looking forward. We are back at the Looking Forward Show, and we are here with Pam Persigian. Pam, how are you? It's great to see you.
I'm well, thank you.
So Pam is the project coordinator with the Health Promotion Council. It's HPC. It's a part of PHMC, Philadelphia Health Management Corporation. And she collaborates with Philadelphia's Office of Homeless Services on food programs for children and adults living in emergency shelter and housing. Additionally, teaches cooking classes to residents in shelters. She was with the food editor of Cook's Magazine and Nation's Restaurant News for over 2 decades. She's taught culinary programs in New York State juvenile detention centers. And she, after graduating from the Culinary Institute of America and working in professional kitchens. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to tell you, I'm so excited because we have not had anyone cooking for us on the Looking Forward Show, and we are about to embark on the first. So, Pam, how are you? It's great to see you. Why don't you tell us a little about what you do at the Health Promotion Council?
Sure. So I work with the Office of Homeless Services at homeless shelters. What we're trying to do, unlike the experience you had, Jeff, is to offer food that is not only nutritious, which is the most important, but also delicious. So my job is to offer recipes, to help with the menu planning, and then to do training of the chefs who work there. And we're doing our best to make things taste better. And then I do teach cooking classes at the shelters when pre-pandemic and now online. So this is one
We're
of
really
the dishes that
excited.
we teach.
We're really excited to have you. And
Right.
because, you and I were talking the other day and getting ready for the show, we talked about, what we were going to cook. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Like, go big or go home. And I'm like, well, this may not work so good because of COVID. We're not really in the studio. We're doing this virtually, but we're going to give this a shot anyway. So you've prepared a lesson for us today. And why don't you tell us a little about what you're going to cook for us and why it's so important, a meal or a snack?
Sure. So it's a cucumber dip with pita chips. And what's so important is just to have things that you've made at home so that you're prepared for something healthy. If you can make this dip a few days ahead, it's in the refrigerator ready to go. Kids come home, they're hungry. You have something ready for them instead of grabbing the prepared foods that aren't always as healthful for you. It's also, it gives a sense of well-being when you make your own food, and it's less expensive. So that's always a benefit. And it takes less time than going down to that corner bodega. You can whip up something much faster or about as fast as it takes to walk down the street. So these are the reasons I think it's a good idea to cook at home.
Awesome. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to switch these around a little bit. I want you to, if you can, if you can walk us through and show us what you're going to make for us today.
Sure. So we're going to make these. Can you see the cutting board okay?
Yeah, we gotcha. There's a cutting
Okay.
board, knife, and some pita out there, looks like.
Great. So the first thing we do is to put some olive oil or any type of oil on the pita bread. And actually, when you have pita bread and it comes right out of the bag, it's not so lovely, right? It was made to have warm and fresh. So what you do is put the olive oil, put it in the oven, and warm it up, and then it makes it sort of like the way it was when it just came out of the oven, and it only takes a few seconds to do. And it goes in a 400-degree oven. The recipe says 10 minutes. It depends on your oven, but mine was done and then a little overcooked in a few less minutes than that. So
I don't know if you guys are watching this show. There's a serious knife she's using. It's scary.
Had it since I was a kid, so it's yeah. So then onto the yogurt. So the yogurt dip that goes in the oven, and then while that's in the oven, you can make a yogurt dip. The yogurt dip is really the same as a tzatziki or any other yogurt type of sauce with garlic and cucumbers. In my heritage, I'm Armenian, we called it jajach and made a soup out of it. So it depends. So what you can do is make like these matchsticks and then cut it into a small dice. It's perfectly easy to do, but if you don't have the knife skills or you want your children to get involved, which I highly recommend, a sense of cooking starts early. I started with my grandma, and I think it's one of the best ways to go. So it's fine to do it this way. You need 2 cucumbers. I like to use the seedless cucumber. For one, you don't have to peel it, so it's a little faster. And then it has less waste. It costs a little more to get it in the first place, but then it's less waste because it's not full of water. And I did have some done ahead of time.
Nice.
And you can do it that way. You can also I'll show you in a second. You can just grate that cucumber if you don't want your children to be touching knives, and yeah, who does? You can just take it on a large hole, part of the grater.
Just grate away, huh? That's
Yeah,
easy.
just grate it, and it comes out well. And then on that same grater, or you can do the same dice, you can do carrots. One of my colleagues, Tiffany, showed me this little trick. It's a little different than the recipe, but it comes out just as well, and it's fast. I'm sorry, we're probably shaking.
That's okay. You're good. So you got the carrots and cucumbers. What else you got to put in that thing?
So the next thing is garlic. And for garlic, I usually just peel it. And again, since you've got the grater out, I also love to do as less cleanup as possible. Recipe calls for 2 cloves of garlic. My partner is not a huge fan of garlic, so we're going to use 2. We're going to start with 1. My theory is you can always take something out. You can always add more, but you can't take it out. So
Really
in
true.
there goes the garlic, finely grated, and then salt. Again, less is more when it comes to that. Some pepper. If you would like to use some fresh herbs or dry herbs, you can use dill, whatever
Easy.
you like. Some mint if you'd like. I just happen to have some growing. So you can take the mint and whoops, have a little mess on your cutting board like I do. But messes make it good. I also have some fresh dill that was there, but not much. And you kind of roll it up. When I used to teach in juvenile detention centers, the kids always loved my definition that they know how to roll things, and it's the same with this herb. You roll it and mince it, really pretty
They make it
fine.
look so easy there.
Well, because it is. It takes practice. It's yeah. And I do use the same big knife for everything. You don't have to, but the big knife actually makes it easier in the end. It seems counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but to me,
So what's interesting about this recipe, I'll let you go and mix it all up, is that I was looking at, this is only really a recipe that has about 4 grams of fat in it, which is really low, and it's low in sodium. It's good for you. Saturated fats 1 gram, 5 milligrams of cholesterol, 7 grams of protein, and 170 calories for a quarter cup, which is you know what, I just started doing this. I really I have this app on my phone now where I have been tracking all that I'm eating. I'm trying to start eating a little healthier, and I've been tracking all the calories. And it's so simple with some of the apps that are out now. You have the barcode, you just scan it, it goes right on your phone. You can tell how many calories you've eaten and how you're doing for the day nutritionally. So this is an amazing little snack dip that you made, and would be great for what, the Super Bowl maybe coming up.
absolutely. Too bad we don't have our Philly team playing, but yeah, it'd be great for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That looks awesome. If you can't see us on radio, it's a wonderful dish, and we're going to we will post the recipe for this cucumber and dip with pita and chips. And Pam, thank you so much. If we wanted to get people involved or thinking about the Health Promotion Council and the work they do, or they want to get involved, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, go to healthpromotioncouncil.org, and you can always Google us. And if you're interested in taking classes and are on SNAP-Ed, they're free of charge and at our health centers.
That's awesome. So it is part of PHMC, the Philadelphia Health Management Corporation. It's an affiliate with them. And Pam, you can pull your camera up a little bit so we can see you there. That'd be great. And I'm curious, I know that you've done some work, the importance of nutrition. Can it ever be overstated how important it is to eat right? And what impact does that have on somebody's lifestyle?
I think it adds to your well-being in general, happiness, but then even just so you feel good. It's like someone had explained to me, taking a walk is just as good as taking a happy pill. And I find that I get happiness from the food I eat. And I think that most people do. If it tastes good, and the trick to making food taste good is to taste it. Make sure you don't just make it and then it's done. But nutritious food can taste good. Instead of adding a lot of salt, that's what those herbs did, right? So we cut down on our salt content. But it's almost, if you don't taste the food, it's sort of like a person who is playing the piano who can't hear. Chefs always taste their food, and then they taste it again to make sure it's great. But
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an important piece of it. And I think staying healthy and staying fit, with all the challenges we have in our life today with COVID and just navigating some of the challenges of reentry, I want to bring back in Wayne to the discussion. Wayne, so what do you think, Wayne? You gonna go make some of that cucumber dip with pita chips? What do you think?
That's one of the things that we do at the end of each of our classes. We have a 6-week nutrition education class, both inside the prison and at halfway houses. And one of the things we do, Pam, at the end of each lesson, we make a recipe. And we try to find a recipe that's healthy, easy to make, like you just made. And as you would know, it's amazing once people get a chance to taste it. It is like the icing on the cake of the lesson. Because as you said, there's no better example when someone tastes that food and initially thought that it wasn't going to taste good, and taste it and find out, like, say, for example, cabbage, apple coleslaw. It sounds like a contradiction, but to get them involved in that and watch the participants chop those apples and the cabbage up and then actually taste it, it helps us to understand that healthy food is good. and it's not as complicated as we thought it was, and it's easy to adapt to.
Yeah, what's crazy about it is, we think that healthy food needs to taste bad, and that's just so not true. Healthy food can really taste good. And you can fix things the way you want them and the way you like them with your, some herbs and different seasonings and things. Nutrition can't be overstated. I do believe that a fit body leads to a fit mind, and that they are really interconnected, especially in the justice space. If we can help men and women as they go through their journeys really understand, then they need to keep that the number one priority as they go through. And I oftentimes have to, realign myself with those priorities and remember that, you have to eat well, and you have to exercise and stay fit. And that keeps you on your toes and doing the work that you do. So not only for you, but for your family. So real quick, we have a few minutes left. I just want to, Wayne, if you can give us again, if we wanted to reach out to the Food Trust and get some more information, just Google the Food Trust. That's the best way of getting you.
Yes, just Google the Food Trust, and they'll take you straight to the website. And there's tons of information on there that can take you in any direction you would like to go. Recipes and everything.
Awesome. Chef Pam, if we want to find out more about the Health and Promotion Council that you work with, and we want to get involved in any way, how would we go about doing that?
The same, Googling Health Promotion Council, and then you can also go to, we have a site on Facebook as well.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being on, and we have another minute or two. I want to talk about a few other things, but I want to thank both of you for really making nutrition a priority, not only in the lives of Philadelphians, but around the country and the work that you do. And I look forward to continuing the discussion, see how we can, kick it up a few notches, as Emerald would say, and really make nutrition a priority for people that are just as involved and they're coming home. So thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Pam. And we're going to stick with us for a second. I want to talk for a minute or two about some things that are coming up. And then when we talk about food, there is a great program that's coming up now. And it's actually a food class, and it's part of a culinary teaching class. And the lesson is being brought by Transformation to Recovery program. And it is actually food lessons. There's one on January 20th that's coming up, and it's all about leftovers and what you can make with leftovers that are in your kitchen, which is a wonderful thing to think about. How you can take something that is in your kitchen that you had maybe earlier in the week, and you can make it into something different. So I want you to be mindful of that, and you can check that out. And if you go to www.transformationforrecovery.org, you can get some more information there. Also, for those people looking to start a new career, I want to throw this out there. There's community health worker certified peer specialist training that's coming up. And the deadline to apply is this February. It's being sponsored by the Mental Health Partnerships and also Philadelphia Works and Drexel University. So we're hoping that if you want to change a career in 2022, I know that there's training stipend provided. The Community Health Worker Specialist certification is a big deal. And it's through Drexel University. But if you log on, we'll post some more information about it. But if you want some direct information, you can reach out to Jay at 267-455-9779. You maybe get some information there. So I want to thank all of our guests today. We just had a great show. It was fun having, obviously, Lou Narvaez on from Pennsylvania Probation and Parole, Brandon Kraskowski from Edwin's, just an amazing restaurant, Pam Parsegian from the Health Promotion Council, and Wayne Williams from the Food Trust. We had a great show. We're looking forward to our next show coming up in a few weeks. And again, you've been listening to the Looking Forward Show, and we will see you soon.